Okay, so I'm running a little bit late, and right now I'm taking the car, just going to get some Christmas presents because I need to do that because I haven't done that. And it's already like 1 p.m. and I haven't done any coding today. But what I thought was interesting was I've been reading this book called 4,000 Weeks, and in that book they talk a little bit about, or he talks about productivity and some research in productivity. I read this a couple of days ago, so I don't remember it fully, but I think the gist of it was he brought up some sort of I think it was a professor or a teacher or something somewhere in some university in America, and that professor was teaching writing or had lots of writers in their class, and he was looking at how or why do some students produce way more work than other students, and what is the reason behind that. And something that he found, or a relationship that he found that correlated with the output of the students, was that the ones that produced the most output, they also tended to be the ones that had really low barriers for what they needed to do in a given day. So that meant that they didn't set unrealistic goals, or they set really low or quite small goals in some sense, or some of them did. And so what they did was that some of them had the only goal of they only need to write for 10 minutes per day. And some of them, at the higher end, they had the goal of well, I need to write for 4 hours per day. And what he noticed was that people that had the goals of between 10 minutes per day up to 4 hours per day, those were the ones that produced way more writing than any other students. And so he tried to push this onto some of the students and give advice to students and tell them that you can't sit for 12 hours or 16 hours a day. You have to limit yourself a little bit, but stay consistent with it. So it's better to do 10 minutes every single day rather than say you're gonna do 12 hours one day, because if you do 12 hours one day, then you just end up being so tired the next day and you feel oh, I'm gonna have to sit for 12 hours, that you just end up postponing it and you procrastinate and you don't get it done. And so after reading that, or based on that, I'm trying to use that a little bit more. So instead of doing the thing that I have done sometimes, which is on a day like this where it's already 1 p.m. and I haven't gotten to work yet, I might end up feeling well, this day is sort of wasted already. There's no use starting to code or doing anything with it because I won't get much done anyway. Instead of doing that, I'm going to be consistent and I'm going to do something today. Even if it's just even if I just have time to do 2 hours or 1 hour of coding, that's going to be better than nothing, and that's going to move me towards actually getting this done. And I'm going to have in the back of my head that 4,000 Weeks book reference, where it's better to do just 10 minutes but do something than to not do anything. So that's what we're doing today. And last week, where we ended, was I got suspended from my Amazon account for some reason, which I don't know why. And then at the end of that day, after filming, I got an email that said that, okay, your account is now not suspended anymore, so you can log back in. And that means that we can actually start working on, or continue working on, the login screen. So that's going to be the goal for today. My goal, I hope it's not too ambitious, but my goal is to get the login screen back working, because if the login screen works, then we can move on to the next feature, which is being able to do voice calls between users. So that's going to be the goal. I'm going to finish my Christmas shopping, and then the next thing you're going to see is coding. All right, it's almost 5 p.m. I think I have about an hour that I can spend on this now. The goal is simply to get reconnected to the database and then show the login screen and try to sign up as a user and see on the AWS Amplify website that I have a user that's signed up. That's the goal. We'll see how far we get today. All right, let's see if we can create an account using an email. So cal@gmail.com and do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, exclamation mark, QG. And this, of course, is the password that I use for all of my accounts. So, not that you needed to know that, but if you wanted to, now you know. User pool client. Okay, so now let's see if we can create an account. All right, seems like we're signed in. So that now seems like that worked. Now the question is if we have a user in our database somewhere, which is what I want to see. Right, so I don't really understand where to find my users. As you can see, we're signed in to the app, so the signing in and authentication thing seems to work, and we can create an account. I think we can sign in to the account as well. Let's just try that. All right, either way, this stuff seems to work. Like I get verification codes and I can sign in and I can do all kinds of things, but I just don't know where to find the actual users. If we go to this site, which is basically, I think, AWS Amplify's site, I only have these three options: app settings, hosting, and overview. But it seems like I should have, or apparently looking at these tutorial things, they show me having a lot of other things, other options like storage, users, all that kind of stuff, which I don't have. And so I feel like there's something missing. Oh, here we go. Okay, let's see if we create a user now, just to see what happens. Back to sign in, create account. Let's do... holdenlogs@gmail.com. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and exclamation mark QH. Six 37236. All right, I'm signed in now and I created an account using another email. So what I want to see now is, do we have a third account that's going to have been created right now? So let's update this. Okay, so I think maybe now that I've done something, because this add storage backend is what I just did a commit here on my local machine. And so I basically added a folder called back or storage, and then inside that folder I had to add another file called resource.ts, blah blah blah, lots of tiny little things. And then I created, or I added this to Git and then committed it to or pushed it to my repository. And that then created deployment 2 here on the AWS console for Amplify. So that actually picked up this change, this local change that I then pushed. And that means that it will be quite interesting because we can then see if we can actually add something to the database. Because when we press storage now, we get to this page where it just says for the steps that we need to do, like locate the Amplify folder, and then inside that, blah, 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 and then create the storage folder, and then create resource.ts, blah, blah, blah. That's what I did. So this page, I'm guessing, should update once the deployment is finished deploying. And then maybe we'll be able to see users. But I'm not really sure. The goal is basically just to get to a point where we can go here and go to storage or something and see that we actually have users. So now this is actually updated, I just noticed. So this is updated. Now we don't have the guide for how to set it up, but we actually have storage here. So what does that mean? I'm going to try to create another user just to see if that does something. User already exists. All right. I was hoping that this was going to be a more productive day, but it really hasn't been very productive. I've spent all day trying to get the login stuff to work. Basically, I want to see on the AWS site or the AWS Amplify site, somewhere, anywhere, I want to see users pop up in a list where it's like, okay, I create an account here on the computer, and then I actually see that I've created an account in the database online. Because right now, I think what I'm doing is I'm running a local sandbox, which I don't really know what that means, to be honest, but I think what it means, from what I can understand or assume, is that it means that I'm sort of hosting my own server within the terminal, and that's where I'm creating these users. But they're not getting pushed to the actual remote server, which is the AWS one, which means, what does that mean? Well, it means that I need to connect the remote server to my local machine somehow, or like add some sort of credential, something, which just doesn't seem to be as easy as I thought it was going to be. So yeah, that's I've just spent all day trying to get this to work, but I don't seem to be able to yet. And so I'm trying my hardest not to get too discouraged. Like, I know this is not something that's going to make me give up on this idea, because I haven't even tried that much, I would say. If I've been trying for like 3-4 days without making any progress, then talk to me then. But I don't think I would give up then either. But because it can be done, and the thing is, like, if it can be done, then I feel like I could obviously do it. It's just that I need to spend enough time learning how it works, and then at some point I will get it to work. I'm pretty confident with that, but it's very discouraging, just like not getting this stuff to work the way that I expected it to. I really thought that it would be way easier than this, but it's just not. And yeah, I guess that's the reality of what this is going to be like when you're watching me build this live. Some days I won't make much progress, but hopefully tomorrow we'll get this to work, and we'll actually have users show up on the AWS site. It's not an unfamiliar position for me to be in. I feel like this is usually what it's like. Like, you spend a day trying to get something to work, and you just can't seem to get it to work, and there's nothing, seems like you're making no progress. I would not be surprised if tomorrow I wake up and I start working on this and I solve this within like 5 minutes. That would be no surprise to me at all, because for some reason that usually is what ends up happening. But today it's 3 p.m. and I'm gonna call it a day, because I don't want to overdo myself based on what I said at the beginning of this video. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope I'll see you tomorrow.